Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. US says Israel-Hamas hostage deal closer than ever. Red Cross president meets Hamas leader in Qatar to advance humanitarian issues.
We believe we're closer than we've ever been, so we're hopeful. But there's still work to be done, and nothing is done until it's all done.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong to hold 14th Foreign Ministerial Framework Dialogue in New Delhi. India's squad for T20 International Series against Australia announced. Surya Kumar Yadav to captain, Sanju Samson misses out. US President Joe Biden has indicated that a deal could soon be agreed that would involve Hamas releasing hostages from Gaza in exchange for pauses in Israel's offensive. The comment came during an annual Thanksgiving ceremony in which the president pardons a turkey. Earlier, the Israeli ambassador to the US on Sunday said that he is hopeful one will be reached in the coming days. White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby in a media briefing told reporters that the United States believes the deal to release hostages held by Hamas is getting closer.
I just want to let you know we're still working this hour by hour. Deal that we're trying to negotiate, but as you heard the Deputy National Security Advisor say yesterday, we believe we're closer than we've ever been. So we're hopeful, but there's still work to be done, and nothing is done until it's all done. So we're going to keep working on this.
While U.S. State Department said that at least 6 U.S. citizens have been killed since the October 7th rampage into Israel by Hamas.
There are a total of 6 American citizens who have died, not from the terrorist attacks on October 7th, but in the month plus since. 5 who are members of the IDF, and 1 who is a national police border officer.
Army spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said on Monday that Israeli forces discovered a factory that produced weapons and unmanned aerial vehicles under a mosque in Gaza City. Hagari added that soldiers also found a tunnel shaft after searching the mosque in the Zaytun neighborhood.
The soldiers from the 188th Brigade located inside a mosque, a factory that produced weapons and unmanned aerial vehicles. I want you to understand, a mosque in the area of Zaytun has been used as a factory for the production of weapons. Soldiers entered the mosque and conducted a search. Working in cooperation with soldiers from the Yahalom unit, and after the forces checked that there were no traps, they discovered a tunnel shaft. In addition to this tunnel shaft, the soldiers went further below and discovered a workshop for making rockets.
The Israeli army displayed a large cache of weapons and supplies obtained from Hamas militants on Monday following the attack on October 7th. The weapons seized included Hamas's rocket-propelled grenades, thermobaric grenades, rockets and other weaponry. The vehicles and motorbikes used to cross from Gaza into Israel were also displayed. The International Red Cross president, Mariana Spoljarik, traveled to Qatar on Monday to meet with Hamas leader to advance humanitarian issues. The Red Cross president also met separately with Qatari authorities, which are acting as mediators in the conflict. The ICRC, a neutral intermediary which is providing aid to Gaza and has helped escort hostages and patients from the enclave, said that the meeting was part of discussions with all sides to the conflict to improve respect for international humanitarian law. It added that it was not part of negotiations aimed at releasing more than 200 hostages seized by Hamas. Moreover, calls for ceasefire in Gaza have amplified in United Nations General Assembly on Monday. Member states of the General Assembly also asserted for an increase in aid to the Palestinian enclave.
An immediate humanitarian ceasefire is essential, and we repeat our calls for this, along with an urgent and significant scaling up of humanitarian access and supplies, including food, fuel, water and medical supplies.
That for the sake of the UN and humanity, meeting and commitments are not enough. Resolutions and statements are not enough. It needs to be implemented on the ground. We need concrete action now. We need a humanitarian ceasefire now. We need unimpeded delivery of humanitarian assistance now.
Australia wants to see the next steps towards a ceasefire agreed by both parties. We welcome recent reports of diplomatic efforts towards the safe release of hostages and to facilitate safe humanitarian access, and we encourage all steps towards this.
France on Monday sent more medical supplies and a second hospital ship to Gaza. France sent a military Airbus A400 with more than 10 tons of medical supplies. France also dispatched a second hospital ship, the helicopter carrier Dixmude, which will arrive in Egypt in the coming days. A first French helicopter carrier, the Tonnerre, which has about 60 beds and 2 operating blocks, has already been deployed in the region. France will also deploy civil and military planes to evacuate sick or injured children from Gaza. Earlier this month, French planes delivered 54 tons of aid for Gaza via Egypt. The families of Israeli children held hostage by Hamas in Gaza pleaded on Monday for international voices to demand their release at a protest outside the UN Children's Fund in Tel Aviv. Several hundred demonstrators joined the protest on World Children's Day, pleading the organization help Israeli child hostages in Gaza. Protesters held Israeli flags, portraits of the children and stuffed toys, with a projector casting pictures of their names, faces and ages onto the side of the building housing the offices of UNICEF. Let's get you more updates. South Africa on Tuesday will host a virtual summit of the BRICS group of nations to discuss the Israel-Hamas war. Tuesday's extraordinary joint meeting on the Middle East situation in Gaza will be hosted by South African President Cyril Ramaphosa in hope of drawing up a common response to the more than a 6-week conflict. All the 5 BRICS heads of state, including Russian President Putin, will join the virtual summit. Besides, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres will also attend. Leaders from Saudi Arabia, Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran and the United Arab Emirates will also attend the meeting. Now, all these countries are due to join the BRICS group in January next year. A joint statement with particular reference to Gaza is expected following the summit. Let's get you updates on Russia-Ukraine conflict now. Ukrainian military officials said that the forces were engaged in containing increased Russian attacks around the shattered eastern town of Bakhmut on Monday. They added Ukraine's troops had also achieved some success after crossing the east bank of the Dnipro River in southern Kherson region. Ukrainian forces have also made marginal gains in the 5-month-old offensive in the east and south. Russia has concentrated on Ukraine's eastern regions after failing to move on to Kyiv. Their progress has been slow. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin made a surprise visit to Kyiv on Monday in a gesture of unwavering support days after U.S. President Joe Biden signed a stopgap funding bill which excluded additional funding for Ukraine. Now, this is Austin's second trip to the country since Russia's full-scale invasion. Meghu Milim has more from Kyiv.
U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky during his unannounced visit to Kyiv on Monday, where he announced $100 million in assistance to Ukraine, including sending air defense interceptors and anti-tank weapons. The visit comes just days after U.S. President Joe Biden signed a second stopgap funding bill which excluded additional funding for Ukraine. This is a huge concern because the United States has been the biggest donor of military aid to the country. And the Pentagon has already warned that funds for Ukraine is drying up. Just recently, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said the window is closing on U.S. funding for Ukraine, which could have serious consequences for Kyiv's defense against Russian aggression. Zelensky has also said that the delivery of artillery shells from Western allies have decreased since the conflict between Israel and Hamas began last month. Austin also met with Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov after his meeting with Zelensky. Umerov thanked the U.S. government and the American people for their unwavering support of Ukraine, and Austin said he saw firsthand during his visit the determination of the Ukrainian people to defend their freedom. The visit is a morale boost for Kyiv, but concerns over continued American support will not be erased until additional funding for Ukraine is approved by the U.S. Congress. Megumi Lim in Kyiv reporting for DD India.
Meanwhile, Japan donated trucks and demining devices to Ukraine's state emergency service on Monday. 40 pickup trucks and 50 demining devices were lined up at Kyiv's central St. Sophia's Square in front of one of Kyiv's capital, most picturesque cathedral for the handover ceremony. State Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry and State Minister for Foreign Affairs were greeted by Ukrainian Interior Minister Ihor Klimenko. As the leaders, in fact, exchanged handshakes, emergency services workers took the trucks for a test drive. Japan has been supporting Ukraine with funds and by accepting refugees. In another development, long queues of trucks have been lined up for more than a week at Poland's border with Ukraine on Monday, as Polish truckers are protesting against the government, blaming them for failing to protect their businesses from foreign competition since Russia-Ukraine conflict began. The angry Polish lorry drivers say that they want licenses for Ukrainian trucks, which they used to have to a limited extent in the past, a demand Kyiv said it would not consider. Poland and Ukraine have held talks on the matter but have so far failed to reach an agreement. We're heading for a short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour, tension simmers in the Korean Peninsula as North Korea plans to launch a spy satellite. UN Secretary General heads to Antarctica before COP28 climate summit. Brazilian fans stormed the venue for Taylor Swift's concert in Rio amid sweltering heat in the city.
A platform for the developing world, amplifying the voice of the Global South with a focus on the growing economies, resolving the conflicts, showcasing the culture, tradition, heritage and diversity. Watch Voice of the Global South at these times on DD India.
Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action. Stories of real change. Tales of sustainable solution.
This series is going to tell stories of such changemakers.
Watch Changemakers on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour and I'm Preeti. Let's get you more international updates. U.S. aircraft carrier Carl Vinson has arrived in South Korea in a show of deterrence as North Korea announces plans to launch a spy satellite between November 22nd and December 1st. Earlier, South Korea issued a sail warning, calling Pyongyang's planned satellite rocket launch a matter that affects national security. Japan said that its missile defense stood ready to deal with an unexpected situation. It will be North Korea's third attempt to put a spy satellite this year. The launch comes after the country's leader Kim Jong-un visited Russia, where President Vladimir Putin promised to help Pyongyang build satellites. All right, also our correspondent Andrew Wood is joining us from Hong Kong to spell out more details. Andrew, we've told our viewers that yes, Carl Vinson has arrived in South Korea, and also we have told our viewers about the South Korean Rear Admiral saying that the arrival showed that it is a strong combined defense posture and determined willingness to respond to North Korea's intended spy satellite launch. Spell out more details. What more can you add to this first?
Well, North Korea, as you say, it's tried several times to launch spy satellites so far this year, and they've failed. And when the South Koreans looked at the wreckage of one of them, they concluded that actually the satellite would not be much use to be able to spy on what's happening. Japan and South Korea and the United States have moved closer together this year as a result, I think, of North Korea's increased tests. And they said that the militaries of the three countries should be sharing information, real-time information about North Korean missiles by early December. Now, the missile, or the rocket rather, North Korea says it will be fired southwards in the general direction of the Yellow Sea and the East China Sea. That's mainly open waters there, so it should. We don't know the exact trajectory of the rocket, obviously, but it'll probably fly through South Korean airspace above South Korea, and then if it does land in the sea, if it crashes into the sea, that'll probably be that might be in Japanese waters. Remember, the big American military base of Okinawa is about due south of Pyongyang, so that is a possible risk, and one of the reasons I think why the United States has sent an aircraft carrier to South Korea.
All right, Andrew, also Japan has said that it is ready to deal with any unexpected situation. Also, you've talked of how the past year has seen, South Korea and US getting closer. Help us understand the fallout of the launch of North Korea's spy satellite, if it is successful, because this is going to be the third attempt.
Well, any launch of North Korean missiles or rockets is watched very, very carefully. Remember, these are very complicated machines, and really North Korea should be, will want to test them as much as possible. And the more tests they do, the more likely it is that the rockets will be reliable in the future, though there's no guarantee. So yeah, South Korea, Japan and China, South Korea, Japan and America have moved closer together about this. Don't forget also at the weekend, South Korea, Japan and China are due to have military talks for the first time for a long while, and they will no doubt discuss the North Korean threat. Remember, China is probably North Korea's only main ally, and there's been a lot of pressure, or increasing pressure, especially from America, to say to China, look, North Korea is your ally, please try to get it under control, or try to stop it launching these missiles, these rockets. And don't forget, there's a long list of United Nations Security Council resolutions that forbid North Korea from doing this.
All right, Andy, we leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those inputs. Turning focus to other updates, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz hosted the leaders of the 13 Compact with Africa countries at Berlin's Chancellery as he pushed African countries to proceed with the African Free Trade Area, which he said would contribute towards stronger growth in the continent. The African Continental Free Trade Area will be the largest free trade area since the establishment of the World Trade Organization. The Compact with Africa was created in 2017 under the German G20 presidency. It aims to bring together African countries and international organizations to boost investment opportunities.
Surely the African Free Trade Area would contribute towards stronger growth in Africa and among the economies. It is remarkable that a lot of the infrastructure which makes trade among the countries possible does not exist, and European politics and what Germany does is directed at facilitating such trade among African nations with the legal framework of the free trade area, but also simply with roads and rail connections which help so that it can actually take place. I believe that will enable future growth potential.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, accompanied by Chilean President Boric, will visit Antarctica this week to witness the impact of climate change on the continent due to rising temperatures. They aim to see the melting ice and native species. Guterres will address the UN Climate Summit COP28 afterwards, advocating for action to address the crisis. Now, this expedition comes as world leaders strive to uphold the Paris Agreement's 1.5 degrees Celsius warming target, despite current emission pledges putting the world on track for nearly 3 degrees Celsius of warming. Boric previously visited Antarctica, responding to criticism about carbon emissions from the trip. According to the recent United Nations analysis, despite countries' climate change pledges will lead to nearly 3 degrees Celsius of warming this century, it predicts catastrophic consequences at 3 degrees Celsius, including ice sheet melting and Amazon rainforest drying. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres calls the current emissions trends a dead end, while the annual emissions gap report suggests that significant greenhouse gas emission reductions are needed to maintain the Paris Agreement's 1.5 degrees Celsius target.
Today's emissions gap report shows that if nothing changes, in 2030 emissions will be 22 gigatons higher than the 1.5 degree limit would allow. Present trends are racing our planet down a dead-end 3-degree temperature rise. So it's time to establish a clear phase down with a time limit linked to the 1.5 degrees, and it's time to be determined in pursuing that phase-down policy.
Governments can't keep pledging to cut emissions under the Paris Agreement and then green-lighting huge fossil fuel projects. This is throwing the global energy transition and humanity's future into question. The longer we wait, the harder it's going to be. The world needs to lift the needle out of the groove of insufficient action and begin setting new records on cutting emissions, on green and just transition, and on climate finance, starting now.
Heavy storm in southern Brazil has caused death of at least 4 people over the weekend. The substantial flooding of rivers left several villages cut off, and at least 31,000 people were affected by the rains in Rio Grande do Sul. More than 1,600 were evacuated from their homes. Southern Brazil has faced extreme weather events in recent months, including heavy rains, severe heat, and a devastating cyclone in September that left more than 50 people dead. In Iceland, a massive lava diverting wall is being built near Grandavik to protect the Svartsengi geothermal power plant. The region is under threat due to heightened seismic activity and underground lava flows. The situation led to the evacuation of nearly 4,000 people from the fishing town of Grandavik. The famous Blue Lagoon geothermal spa remains closed. There are large cracks in the earth running from the town's center, leaving main streets impassable. Search and rescue teams are now assessing the extensive damage caused by the volcanic threat. As the United Arab Emirates prepares to host the upcoming COP28 summit, the nation is spotlighting its progressive environmental efforts with particular focus on Botanica, the world's largest vertical farm. Now, this revolutionary approach for substantial water savings will reduce the water consumption level up to 95% as compared to traditional outdoor farming, and will also contribute to a significant reduction of 1,000 megawatt in water production. Botanica's presence shows UAE's dedication towards green initiatives during the upcoming summit. Afghan refugees from Pakistan face a challenge as extreme winter sets in. That's The thousands of Afghan citizens Pakistan is expelling face extremely harsh conditions. Tens of thousands of ethnic Afghans moved back to Taliban-ruled state after Pakistan announced that it is expelling undocumented migrants from the state. Many of those who moved have lived in Pakistan their entire lives. This leaves the migrants with nothing in Afghanistan.
The winter is approaching and the weather and the temperature is declining each day. So this is a big concern for the people arriving in here. They need for the immediate shelter because most of them have nowhere safe to go. And this means a serious risk, especially for the women and children, because now they are living under tents, under the open skies.
And now we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world. The 10th meeting of the dialogue mechanism between China and Russia was held on Monday via video link. Leaders of both the countries applauded the high level of strategic partnership between the nations, with assurance of stronger bilateral cooperation in many projects in the future. In one of the country's largest mafia trials, an Italian court convicted more than 230 mobsters and their associates for a slew of charges, including extortion, drug trafficking and theft. The trials targeted the crime group, one of the most powerful gangs in the heartland in the southern region of Calabria. U.S. marks 60 years of former President John F. Kennedy's assassination on Wednesday. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas in 1963. Despite having one of the shortest tenures of any U.S. president, Kennedy changed the office of the U.S. presidency. Colombian pop star Shakira reached a settlement with the prosecutors to avoid a trial in Barcelona after she failed to pay $15.7 million in Spanish income tax between 2012 and 2014. As part of the deal, she accepted the charges and a fine of 50% of the amount owed, which is more than 7.3 million euros. A Los Angeles court ordered rapper A$AP Rocky to stand trial on assault charges that claimed he pointed and fired a handgun at Terrell Efron, causing minor injuries in 2021. The decision came on Monday during the second day of a preliminary hearing attended by the rapper. U.S. First Lady Jill Biden received the official White House Christmas tree on Monday, which is a Frazier fir grown in North Carolina. She was joined by the children of military families on the occasion. A quick break ahead, but on the other side of the break, two-day Global Fisheries Conference India 2023 begins in Ahmedabad to mark World Fisheries Day. Stay with us as we tell you the latest from India's Uttarakhand state, where operations to rescue 41 trapped workers has entered day 10. And soon you will be able to relish Japanese famous fruit persimmon in the Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs. With a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour and I'm Preeti. A quick recap of the top stories once again. US says Israel-Hamas hostage deal closer than ever. Red Cross president meets Hamas leader in Qatar to advance humanitarian issues. India's External Affairs Minister and Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong to hold 14th Foreign Ministerial Framework Dialogue in New Delhi. India's squad for T20 International Series against Australia announced. Surya Kumar Yadav to captain. Sanju Samson misses out. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong will hold 14th Foreign Ministerial Framework Dialogue in New Delhi. Under this framework, the two sides will take stock of bilateral cooperation under the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership and exchange views on regional and global issues of mutual interest. Amrit Pal Singh is joining us with more on phone line. Amrit, good morning. Spell out more details on the meeting today between Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and his Australian counterpart Penny Wong.
Preeti, what had happened yesterday was that the 2+2 dialogue took place where all the four ministers, two from the Indian side and two from the Australian side, the defense and the foreign ministers met. And also the two defense ministers met separately. Today, the two foreign ministers are meeting separately for what is called the 14th Foreign Ministers Framework Dialogue. Essentially, they will focus on their discussions on the bilateral aspect of the relationship, but also, how the relationship is important and what how they need to work together to ensure peace and stability in the region, especially in the Indo-Pacific. That's in the context of the region, and also in the wider world. As Dr. Jaishankar yesterday said, that we are seeing sharper polarizations, deeper stresses today, and it's important to ensure that they build and act together for stability on a daily basis. So understandably, issues like the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict will come up, their positions on, the Russian aggression, the Chinese aggression in the Indo-Pacific will come up, and also the broader ties between the two countries, especially how to boost further cooperation in sectors like trade and investment, science and technology, space, agriculture, the SICA, which is at the Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement, which is at advanced stages of negotiations, and which both sides are keen to sign if the negotiations conclude by the time Prime Minister Anthony Albanese comes calling on New Delhi in January this year. Also, in January, India is hosting the Quad Summit, of which Australia is an important member. So the two ministers today will be trying to work out the contours of that Quad Summit and what the Quad now needs to, where the Quad now needs to go to ensure not only, as I said, peace and stability, the security, the defense part of the Indo-Pacific, but also the maritime domain awareness and the maritime domain initiative, essentially the developmental initiative for countries in the Indo-Pacific. Preeti?
With those details. Meanwhile, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met with their Australian counterparts, Defence Minister Richard Marles and Foreign Minister Penny Wong, in the 2+2 ministerial dialogue in New Delhi on Monday. Both the nations and the ministers discussed various issues, including the areas of defence and security, trade and investment, critical minerals, energy, climate change, space, education, and people-to-people linkages. In his address, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said that both the nations are witnessing an upward trajectory across all spheres of bilateral cooperation. Later, Defence Minister also held bilateral meeting with his Australian counterpart. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said that the meeting will provide an opportunity to both the countries to reiterate their resolve to further deepen the defence partnership. Earlier, Australia's Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles met India's Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. The leaders discussed recent developments in the Indo-Pacific region. They also discussed the developments in West Asia. Indian Fisheries Minister Purushottam Rupala will inaugurate the two-day Global Fisheries Conference India 2023 in Ahmedabad on Tuesday. Marking the World Fisheries Day, the conference will be celebrated on the theme of celebrating fisheries and aquaculture wealth. It aims to bring together key stakeholders on one platform for fruitful discussions, market insights and networking. It will also serve as a platform to forge partnerships with national and international stakeholders and chalk out a roadmap for sustainable growth of India's fisheries sector. Delegations from more than 10 countries will physically participate in the conference, while over 50 other foreign diplomats are anticipated to join the meet virtually. The event is anticipated to attract 5,000 visitors, including farmers, vendors, representatives of cooperatives and startups. Jessica Taneja is joining us with more on this. Jessica, we've just given a broad outline of what all is to be taken up during the Global Fisheries Conference India 2023. Let us understand more from you the growth trajectory of the fisheries sector that has been witnessed in the recent years.
Well, that's right. As you pointed out, there'll be more than 5,000 participants, both international stakeholders and also we're expecting other players also to come in. And as we've heard in recent past, when India's fishery industry is particularly doing very well. Let me point out some particular stats here, please. In fact, last year, India was the third largest fish producing country in the world. And looking at the fish production, it was more than 17.4 million ton, and that is an enormous number. Given these figures, of course, when the Department for Fisheries and Animal Husbandry was created just in 2019, with the urgent need of this particular industry, we're going to see a lot of meetings and deliberations today as to what best practices can be involved and how India can leverage its fisheries industries. And this event continues for another 2 days, so we can expect a lot more on the agenda apart from what all you just mentioned.
All right, Jessica, thank you for joining in with those details. All right, from Ahmedabad, we now turn focus to India's Uttarakhand state, where operations to rescue 41 trapped workers has entered day 10. Electricity and water are available in the portion of the tunnel where the workers are trapped. This portion is 2 kilometers long. They have been provided food and medicines through a 4-inch compressor pipeline. The drilling of another 6 inches diameter pipeline for supply of essential items was completed, and horizontal boring is scheduled to restart today. Machinery for vertical boring are being mobilized by Oil and Natural Gas Corporation from Mumbai and the US. ONGC, having expertise in deep drilling, has also started initial work for vertical drilling. Om Prakash Yadav is joining us with more from Uttarkashi. Om Prakash, सबसे पहले हमें बताइए करंट सिचुएशन, जो करंट कंडीशन है, जो ट्रैप्ड लोग हैं और किस तरह के एफर्ट्स किए जा रहे हैं, बिकॉज हमने एक ब्रॉड आउटलाइन दी है रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन की, आप डिटेल्स में बताएं हमें।
जी, कल सुबह प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी ने उत्तराखंड के मुख्यमंत्री पुष्कर सिंह धामी से बात की और उसके बाद जो राहत और बचाव कार्यों का जायजा लेते हुए उनको जो ब्रीफ किया गया, उसमें मुख्यमंत्री ने साफ तौर पर कहा कि आज कुछ महत्वपूर्ण खबर हमें मिलेंगी, क्योंकि हम जिस तरह से अलग अलग एंगल पे काम करें उससे निश्चित तौर पर हम लोगों को कुछ बिग न्यूज़ मिलेगी। और यही रहा कि शाम को 5 बजे जो 6 इंच के पाइप अंदर डाले जा रहे थे, 53 मीटर तक उनको मजदूरों तक पहुँचा दिया गया। इससे पहले एक छोटा 4 इंच का पाइप था, उससे क्या है कि जो खाने की जो रसद आपूर्ति है, जो फाइबर फूड है, वो भेजने में दिक्कत आ रही थी। लेकिन जब ये 6 इंच का पाइप वहां तक पहुंचा तो एक अलग से उत्साह का माहौल वहां नजर आया, न केवल मजदूरों में बल्कि जो काम करने वाले इंजीनियर और उनके अभिभावक जो यहां आए थे, सभी में खुशी की लहर दौड़ पड़ी। और उसके बाद जब इसमें देर शाम रात 10 बजे के आसपास खिचड़ी और अन्य फलों के अलावा अन्य खाद्य सामग्री वहां तक भेजी गई, तो मजदूरों ने उसको उपयोग किया और निश्चित तौर पर इससे एक बड़ी सफलता लाइफलाइन के तौर पे देखी जा रही थी। उसके बाद दूसरा ट्रायल भी चला गया, जिसमें ऑटोमेटेड कैमरा वहां अंदर उसी पाइप के जरिए भेजा गया, तो उसने बहुत सारी पिक्चर्स वहां भेजी, तो मजदूर सकुशल उस फोटोज में दिखाई दे रहे। तो उससे एक मैसेज गया कि हम जो अभियान लेके चल रहे हैं, बीते 12 तारीख से लेकर लगातार आज इतने दिन हो गए, तो उसमें एक बड़ी सार्थक सफलता उसमें देखने को मिली। फिर उसी के तहत रात को देर रात तक जो अमेरिकन ओगर मशीन है, उससे ड्रिलिंग का काम शुरू किया गया गया और इस बार इसमें कुछ खास तौर पर विशेष ध्यान ये रखा गया कि कहीं ड्रिलिंग के दौरान मलबा नहीं गिर जाए। इसके लिए अलग से एक मशीन है जिससे स्प्रे किया जा रहा है ताकि जो लिक्विड जो मलबा है उसको सॉलिड किया जा सके और साउंड वगैरह आने से उसमें कंप्रेशन पैदा होता है, उसके लिए भी अलग से वैकल्पिक इंतजाम किए गए। तो निश्चित तौर पर ये काम जो सिलकियारा साइड है उधर से किया जा रहा है, वहीं दूसरी ओर हॉरिजॉन्टल ड्रिलिंग का काम भी जो बरकोट साइड है वहां से भी किया जा रहा है। तो अलग अलग एंगल पे जो काम किए जा रहे थे उनमें पहले गति नहीं थी, लेकिन कल जिस तरह से इसमें तेजी से काम देखने को मिला, इससे उम्मीद की जाती है कि अभियान बहुत तेजी से गति पकड़ेगा और जल्दी इन मजदूरों को सकुशल बाहर निकाला जाएगा। इसी में जो और दूसरा एंगल लिया जा रहा था सतलुज जल विद्युत निगम के द्वारा जब इस पहाड़ी पर वर्टिकल ड्रिलिंग करने का काम, तो उसमें तकरीबन 1200 मीटर की जो रोड बनाने का काम BRO कर रहा है, उसमें भी 900 मीटर से ज़्यादा की रोड बन चुकी है। और इसके अलावा जो ONGC को अलग से 2 क्षैतिज ड्रिल करके अलग से सुरंग बनाने का काम दिया गया, उसमें भी कल सर्वे का काम पूरा हो गया था। तो निश्चित तौर पर ये जो 6 अलग अलग बिंदु बना के काम किया जा रहा था उनमें न केवल सफलता मिल रही है बल्कि कार्य बहुत तेजी से आगे बढ़ रहा है। इसके अलावा जो DRDO द्वारा ड्रोन बनाए गए थे, माइक्रो कैमरा बनाए गए थे, उनसे भी आगे के काम को गति पहुंचाने के लिए ट्रायल किया गया था। हालांकि वहां धुंधलापन होने से ड्रोन को ज्यादा तस्वीरें नहीं मिली, लेकिन फोटो कैमरा भेजने के बाद उस माइक्रो कैमरा से जो तस्वीरें आई उससे साफ नजर आ रहा कि मजदूर न केवल सकुशल है बल्कि जो 6 इंच की पाइप द्वारा लाइफलाइन के जरिए भोजन भेजा जा रहा है उसको वो उपयोग कर रहे हैं, खा रहे हैं और आराम से बातचीत हो रही है। अब इसमें एक सफलता और बेहतर तरीके से मिल रही है कि जो ऑप्टिकल फाइबर केबल है उसका नेटवर्क मजदूरों तक पहुंचाया जाएगा। तो हो सकता है आज कल में वो मोबाइल के जरिए अपने परिजनों से बात करते दिखे। तो निश्चित तौर पर ये एक बड़ी उपलब्धि न केवल इस टनल में फंसे मजदूरों को निकालने की दिशा में सार्थक दिखाई दे रही है, बल्कि उम्मीद की जाती है अगले 2 दिन में या 3 दिन में इस ऑपरेशन को सकुशल पूरा भी कर लिया जाएगा।
All right, OP, thank you for joining in with those details. That was our correspondent OP Yadav spelling out more details about the rescue and relief operations that are currently on in order to rescue 41 trapped workers, horizontal and vertical drilling. He gave us an update on that. He also told us that at present the workers are in good condition and they're responding, and electricity and water is available in the area. And also workers have been receiving food through a 4-inch compressor pipeline. He also told about the drone cameras that were in fact installed in order to get pictures of the workers, which also showed that they are in good condition. And in a day or two, optical fiber is also, the authorities are trying to trying to make sure that the optical fiber is taken to, in fact, it's made available to the trapped workers there, and through that they could access telephonic connection also, and they could, in fact, talk to their near and dear ones. We'll keep you updated. Meanwhile, from here we turn focus to IFFI. The 54th International Film Festival of India, or IFFI, kick-started with gala opening and red carpet of the opening film at Goa. Stuart Gatt's Catching Dust is the opening film of the festival.
The International Film Festival of India began with a star-studded ceremony at the Shamba Prasad Mukherjee Indoor Stadium in Goa. In a significant announcement by India's Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Singh Thakur at IFFI, the incentive for foreign film production has been enhanced from 30 to 40%. The incentive for foreign film production in the country stands today at 40% of the expenses incurred, with an increased cap limit exceeding 3.5 million and an additional 5% bonus for significant Indian content.
Today I am pleased to announce an increase in the incentive for foreign film production in India. The maximum incentive will now be up to 40% of the expenditure incurred, with a raised limit of rupees 30 crore rupees, exceeding 3.5 million US dollars. $3.5 million US dollar तक आपको इसमें लाभ मिल सकता है, and you can also get additional 5% bonus for significant Indian content. So we are pushing both, making films in India and also pushing the Indian content.
The 54th International Film Festival of India honored the Dhak Dhak girl Madhuri Dixit with special recognition for contribution to Bharatiya Cinema Award.
Thank you very much for this beautiful award, for honoring me. Nearly 38 years in the industry.
Wow.
And I've got to work with such wonderful directors and wonderful films. with lovely co-actors, जैसे family जैसे बन जाती थी हमेशा shooting के दौरान. And I'm very, very fortunate that I got the right opportunities at the right time.
Union Minister Anurag Singh Thakur earlier inaugurated the Film Bazaar, the largest South Asian film market at Marriott Resort, Goa. He said that the Film Bazaar is much like a bustling marketplace of ideas, is a heaven for filmmakers, producers and storytellers from all corners of the globe.
The Film Bazaar, like a bustling marketplace of ideas, is a heaven for filmmakers, producers and storytellers from all corners of the globe. It's a confluence of creativity and commerce, ideas and inspirations that form the building blocks of this thriving cinematic marketplace.
Union Minister of State Dr. L. Murugan, who was present at the red carpet of the opening film, felicitated the cast and crew of Catching Dust film. While interacting with press, the crew emphasized that having the film at IFFI's opening film is a great honor.
So it means a lot to be here. And for us, my producers Mark and John, it's our international premiere. It's an amazing festival to be at. We're very happy to show our film here. Massively. It's a huge, huge honour, huge honour. I grew up in a part of London where everyone's Indian and it feels like you're there already. So yeah, but being here is feels like home, honestly. It really does.
The next 8 days will be an extravaganza of entertainment for the movie buffs. Shama Mishra's report for DD India.
And now let's take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India. The Election Commission of India has so far seized over 1,760 crore rupees in the 5 poll-going states since the announcement of the elections. This is more than 7 times the seizures of around 215 crore rupees made in previous assembly elections in the states of Mizoram, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan and Telangana in 2018. Indian fishermen who were arrested by the British Indian Ocean Territory Administration were handed over to the Indian Coast Guard on Monday. All fishermen are safe after a thorough joint investigation, medical screening, and they have been handed over to the local police. In the Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir, farmers of Anantnag district of South Kashmir have started cultivation of Japan's famous fruit, persimmon, also known as amlok. Some years back, a tribal and resident of Anantnag bought the tree from Afghanistan, and after 1 year, it has started giving fruits. The fruit-bearing capability of the trees within 2 years makes it an attractive option for those with limited land. A quick break ahead, but on the other side of the break, former OpenAI CEO Sam Altman joins Microsoft. Staff at OpenAI protest against Altman's ouster. Defending champions, Italy secure Euro 2024 final spot after a nervy goalless draw with Ukraine. And shirts worn by Messi at 2022 World Cup expected to fetch record price in the auction later this month.
Turning crisis into opportunity. Transforming ideas into action. Stories of real change. Tales of sustainable solution.
This series is going to tell stories of such change makers.
Watch Changemakers on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. Let's get you updates from the world of business now. Staff at OpenAI have called on the board to resign in protest to the surprise firing of former CEO Sam Altman. It comes just hours after Microsoft said that it had hired Altman to head up the tech giant's new advanced artificial intelligence team. US correspondent Nick Harper gets us more.
Well, it's been a tumultuous few days in Silicon Valley after OpenAI abruptly let Sam Altman go on Friday. The ChatGPT maker said it was due to a breakdown in communications. Now the company is facing a revolt, with around 500 staff signing a letter threatening to quit, calling on the board to step down and reinstate Altman. He, however, has been snapped up by OpenAI's largest investor, Microsoft. Altman and other colleagues, including President Greg Brockman, who quit in solidarity, will be part of a research group at Microsoft. That group will head up a new research lab that the company says will set a new pace for innovation. There's also speculation that other OpenAI workers may jump ship and join Altman at Microsoft in the coming days. Microsoft invested more than $13 billion in OpenAI. However, the company reportedly only found out that Altman was about to be fired on Friday, 1 minute before it was announced. Some other major investors found out on social media. As for OpenAI, the revolving door has brought in the former chief executive of Twitch, Emmett Shear. He replaces Mira Murati, who was appointed as the interim chief over the weekend. It means that OpenAI has had 3 CEOs in just 3 days. The board said Mr. Shear has a unique mix of skills, expertise, and a relationship that will drive OpenAI forward. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
Citigroup has begun a major overhaul of its management structure with sweeping layoffs expected. It's part of a broader reorganization as seen as American bank's biggest reshuffle in nearly 20 years. William Densler gets us more from New York.
The overhaul is being dubbed Project Bora Bora, as Citigroup aims to boost returns and improve efficiency. CEO Jane Fraser says the restructuring will involve some difficult decisions, but will help align the bank's structure with its strategy. According to Bloomberg, the latest round of job cuts is impacting roughly 300 senior manager roles, equating to about 10% of senior management positions. In a statement, Citigroup said that it's taking some difficult, consequential decisions that it believes are the right steps towards reorganising the firm. Individuals not assigned a management role are believed to be provided with a transitional period to apply for other roles at the bank. The third largest bank when it comes to assets in the US currently employs around 240,000 people, but thousands of jobs could reportedly be cut as part of the broader reorganisation. This restructuring plan was announced back in September, and the process is expected to last until the spring of 2024. Fraser took over as CEO back in 2021 and has vowed to help Citi stock recover. But elevated interest rates in the US and other wider economic headwinds has stunted those ambitions. William Denslow in New York, reporting for DD India.
Wall Street's 3 major U.S. stock averages closed higher on Monday, with Nasdaq leading the gains. Heavyweight Microsoft rallied after it hired prominent artificial intelligence executives, while lower treasury yields also provided support. According to the preliminary data, the S&P 500 gained 0.75%, while Nasdaq Composite gained 1.13%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.6%. Time now for sports updates. The Indian Men's Selection Committee on Monday announced the squad for the upcoming 5-match T20 International Series against Australia. The series is scheduled to start from 23rd November in Visakhapatnam. Suryakumar Yadav will be leading the squad. Ruturaj Gaikwad will be the deputy for the first 3 matches. And Shreyas Iyer will join the squad as vice-captain for the last 2 T20 internationals in Raipur and Bengaluru. Italy qualified for Euro 2024 after drawing 0 each against Ukraine in their final Group C qualifier on Monday. European champions Italy finished second, level on 14 points with third-placed Ukraine, but with a better head-to-head record after a tense affair that could have gone either way. The Italians ended 6 points behind England, who had sealed qualification after beating Italy 3-1 at Wembley in October. Ukraine can still book a spot at a 4th consecutive European Championship via the playoffs in March. The playoff draw will take place on Thursday in Nyon. The 6 shirts worn by Messi in 2022 World Cup are expected to fetch a record price in the auction later this month. The collection, that is expected to be the most valuable collection of sport archives, includes the shirt Messi wore during the first half of the final in Qatar. The white and sky blue shirts will be up for bid between November 30th and December 14th, which also happens to be the date of the collection's public exhibition. Now, this extraordinary collection is estimated in excess of $10 million. That's it in this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and also Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.